This is it, time is running out. The Romanian and Morocco plushies, as well as the pens, will be left in spooky season forever. They'll never escape the void. So use that link to makeshift.com to get yours today. And here's a little sneak peek about the next two countries. Ooh. Which US cities have the largest and smallest remote workforce? I don't think I even considered that certain US cities would have more work from home than others. Between 2019 to 2021, people that worked from home tripled. Around 1 in 5 employees work from home currently. And a majority of them come from two states, the two most populated states, California and Texas. There are a lot of cities that I would not expect to see on this map, though. I gotta say, I expected Seattle, Washington, but not so much Evansville, Indiana, or Cary, North Carolina, Sandy Springs, Georgia. See, what? I guess in a way, though, in order to have made an appearance on this list, you probably don't want to be a giant city. Because the more people you have, the more likely you probably gotta actually show up to work, just to work in the cafes, or the hotels, or the restaurants, or the museums, or any other attraction. Probably want to be like a city that just has like 1 or 2 tech startups that's all work from home. It's funny I mentioned them because Cary, North Carolina is the #1 city. With 41% of the workforce working from home, that is almost 50. That's insane. Now, the total number is only 40,000. That means that city only has 100,000 people in it. Still, that's impressive. Then it's Frisco, Texas. Again, my theory that you don't necessarily want the city to be absolutely massive is working out here. These are not the biggest. But Seattle is the outlier. Seattle is a massive tech hub, obviously. In fact, Seattle has almost the total amount of workers that work from home in terms of raw population numbers. The only place that beats them with 15,000 more, Austin, Texas. Yep, that checks out. That is a very big tech hub, obviously. There's also San Francisco on the list, which is only ranked 14th, but they have over 150,000 workers from home. So this line here is showing the actual just total number of remote workers, comparing that to the bar, which is just the percentage. Oh, the purple names are the cities that don't have any remote workers, like almost at all. I was gonna say that was really confusing. So the #1 is Belmont, Texas, with only 3% of their workforce working from home. Lots of Texas, lots of California on the list as well, though. Mostly inland California. So Texas actually only has 3 cities making the list. Outside of Austin, Texas doesn't seem like a state that does a whole lot of work from home. In fact, comparing to the rest of the South, it's really just Sandy Springs, Georgia, and these 2 places in North Carolina. Seeing Colorado pop up with 2 different cities is not shocking. A place like New York City just seems way too big to even be considered here. Are you telling me that people aren't moving to Odessa, Texas to work remote? Different languages and their dubbing culture. Now, I learned a lot about this as I started my Spanish journey. Even though both nations like Spain and Mexico speak Spanish, they have very different dubs. And I didn't understand it. The dubbing industry in Spain and I guess Italy as well has been a very important tradition for these 2 places. This meme perfectly represents what I'm talking about here. This is an English show, Breaking Bad, being redubbed in another English language and dubbed for whatever reason. It's like way too overly aggressive. That was a response to this post. Why do all other languages have extremely wide range of voices for voice acting, but English just has 3? So all the countries in blue use dubbing only for children, otherwise solely subtitles. So there's not a big dubbing industry in these places pretty much. All these places in the Balkans, which all have their own language, and then the UK, as well as Ireland, the Netherlands, and pretty much all the Nordic countries, even Estonia. The Iberians are divided. Then there's the countries in red with general dubbing. These countries use a full cast dubbing. Then there's Turkey in orange. These places use occasional full cast dubbing, otherwise solely subtitles. In yellow, these countries usually have 1 or just a couple voice actors, whereas the original soundtrack persists. Then in Belgium, the Dutch-speaking region occasionally produces their own dialect dubs, just for children's films, but also uses dubs from the Netherlands sometimes for those films, otherwise solely subtitles. That versus, this is so interesting because this is a country that's obviously split language-wise, at least along the dubbing border. Like, obviously, Switzerland is also a country that's split language-wise, but it's in between 3 red countries. There's a tradition in Italian, French, and German to all do like the full cast dubbing. Versus half of Belgium speaks French, the other half speaks Dutch. So they're kind of this weird mixture. Of course, the French-speaking side of Belgium continues the tradition of having like a full cast dub. Then there's the strange case of Belarus and Slovakia. Countries with separate official languages that occasionally produce their own dubs, but generally use dubs from other countries since their language share a high degree of mutual intelligibility, my bad. Having subtitles and no dubs helped us learn English back in the day. That is a very good point. You gotta be listening to your target language. Voiceover was a thing in Russia like 25 years ago. This is very interesting because still to this day, there's a big war on sub versus dub. I only heard about it because of like anime. That's the only reason why we Americans talk about it. But it's a whole different thing when it comes to Europe and the rest of the world. Whether it's movies or TV shows, it's not just anime, although they are probably watching a lot of anime. I feel like a lot of people would rather just there be subtitles. They don't need the dub. When it comes to anime, man, I'm scared to say this. I need the dub. I'm sorry. I'm not a big anime guy, I need a dub, I'm sorry. And make it a good dub too. I'm sorry, it needs to be good. The fact that Portugal has subtitles and never dubs the shows or movies has helped the population immensely throughout the decades. Yep, again, that's a really good point. This is probably why whenever I meet people from the Balkans, they know like 10 different languages. Like they had to kind of learn. They don't have any other option. There's no dub. In the Pacific island language Maori, the official name for the nation France is literally wee. I wish I was making that up. It is wee. They literally heard people from that country say yes 2 times and they're like, bam, that's you. Imagine if they called America yes, or Spain CC. That doesn't sound that bad. Just do not change it to no for Germany. Nine. I don't know. I thought that was gonna be funnier. It's a pity about the zoom. This would be far more interesting map without it. As a German/Portuguese, I feel edged. Can you not use that word? But yeah, I don't know why the zoom is like that. I want to see more countries. Like how Mali is very close to Maori. It's really actually fascinating to see what this language and how they name everything. Like look at how different London and England is. Here we go. Bam, full world map. This is amazing. I love learning about like different languages and what they name different countries. I think it's so easy for me to just like think like, oh, everyone calls the nation Brazil, or Germany. Sometimes the country isn't even like close. Like we say Japan, they're not even close to Japan. They don't call themselves that. I guess the same thing for Germany. I've always found it strange that we have different names for each language for countries. Surely we should just call them what they call themselves. That's also a good point. Funny because the Maori come from New Zealand, Kiwi and we. Countries that are not self-identified as democratic. It's actually hilarious because you'd be surprised at how many countries around the world do consider themselves a democracy. Pretty much every country that's not in red, which yes, includes North Korea, includes China, includes Russia. This includes everyone, but only 7 different nations. Talk about chat. They're literally like, we're not democratic and we're not even trying to be. Meanwhile, try to claim that any of the gray countries aren't actually democracies and they'll freaking lose their mind. Even if like they really aren't. We literally just reviewed this post last week. These are the countries that want to be democratic so bad they put it in their name. And they're actually some of the least democratic places on earth. Yes, North Korea is here. So like, honestly, respect to all these places. Like they don't care. So starting off in Europe, the only place that is admittedly not democratic is the Vatican. Pope just rules that over with an iron fist. Then there's Afghanistan, no big surprise there. Then there's the Arabian Peninsula. A lot of these countries are like full-blown monarchies still. In fact, that's the vast majority of these countries. They're just straight up monarchies and they're unapologetic about it. Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Qatar, Oman. Then there's a little old country, Brunei. I wasn't expecting to see them on this list, but I guess I should have. It was actually pretty obvious once you look into it. Other countries should look up to their honesty. That's what I'm saying. Like just own it. It's all good. Yeah, this is literally what I was saying earlier. It's a very Chad move. 100% better than a Democratic People's Republic country. Yeah, cute North Korea. Here's all the places on Earth that have prosecuted Wikipedia editors. I actually didn't even know you could do that. I mean, I guess you can literally do anything in a lot of these countries, but dang, Wikipedia editors? So Syria, Saudi Arabia, China, North Korea, Russia, and Belarus. What a classic team there. Surprised that Afghanistan hasn't done it yet, but I feel like that's only a matter of time. Actually, this list might just continue to grow as Wikipedia continues to have more and more of a cultural impact. I mean, it already has such a giant impact, but this is crazy. This reminds me of how like sometimes if I include a map in one of my videos that doesn't show like India's proper borders in their eyes, they'll like give me an email like a cease and desist or something. They're not like suing me, but they're just saying like take the video down or something. I could absolutely see them one day maybe prosecuting Wikipedia editors. Who knows? I feel like this is gonna grow. I hope it doesn't, but I think it will. I assume OP originally included New Zealand on this map, but was prosecuted for it. The map without New Zealand. Yeah, how did North Korea even get access to Wikipedia? Top 15 of the world's largest religious groups. I've covered this info so many times, but I like this post because it decided to give flags to each religion. And a whole lot of religions don't have any official flags, so I'm very curious to see some of these choices. There's a very big difference between a certain country having religious symbols on their particular flag versus the religion itself having a singular flag. So the post chose to use this as the Christian flag. It was adopted by United States Federal Council of Churches in 1942. So currently that is the world's largest religion with 2.4 billion. Then there's Islam. This is basically the flag of Tunisia, but in green. Which if you're gonna choose one of the many countries with Islamic symbolism on their flag, this is one of the good ones, I think. I think a lot of them are pretty good, but I like this one in particular. Then there's Hinduism. You just got the classic symbol there with the red background. 1.2 billion. So these first 3 all with over 1 billion. Crazy how like Hinduism is really just in one part of the world though. Literally entirely just in India or people that maybe moved from India. There is a lot though in Indonesia as well as this Guyana part of South America. I love this fact. What kind of Buddhism flag is this? That's crazy. 600 million. Apparently this is the Buddhist flag, or it's unofficially the de facto flag of Buddhism. Like, this is absolutely the symbol. I know that. I mean, they do be flying it in Thailand, so I guess it is it. This is the first time I'm seeing a lot of these flags. Here's Taoism. It's black and white right there. The paint icon indicates there is no official flag for the religion, thus a fan-made one had to be used. Also, this is the official one, and this is the official flag of Christianity too. This is not official Taoism. Also, Shinto and Sikhism. You can see the Japanese influences. You can see where that's coming from. 65 million, 30 million. What a dramatic drop-off from like the 60 million up here. Even Taoism, not bad. Judaism at 18 million. Is this the official flag of it? Wait, and also, remember that the Israeli flag has the white bars on top of the blue strips? Now I'm confused. Did this post mean to leave out this white strip and this white strip? Jainism has 12 million. Man, so many Indian faiths. I don't know if I want to pronounce this one. Confucianism. When I was young, I really thought there was way more Confucius in the world. I was sadly mistaken. There's a faith in Vietnam, Korean, Japanese, Wicca. What the hell? Everyone looking at that? That's a crazy symbol. So these are the top 15. Is that real? What about the Scientologists? Does that count? That's what I was gonna say. Like that's not the official one. India seems to be a bit of a melting pot of religions. Is there not a sizable Muslim population as well? There is in India. They've got a lot of Muslims. The flag of Israel is not the official flag of Judaism. See, I'm getting thrown off. A lot of these flags feel like they're just pulled out of nowhere. Yeah, this comment section is going absolutely insane. Well, that was entertaining. How to become president of the United States of America. Because it's not actually that hard. I mean, the system is, I want to say, straightforward. First, you got to make sure you have all the requirements. It's literally in our own constitution. You must be a natural born citizen. You have to be at least 35 years old. And you had to have been a U.S. resident for 14 years. Wait, I'm kind of confused about you're a natural born citizen, but you have to be a U.S. resident for 14 years? Oh, I guess you can't have lived abroad at least for your whole life. So step one, you need to go through primaries and caucuses. There are many people that want to be president, each with their own ideas about how the government should work. People with similar ideas belong in the same political party. This is where primaries and caucuses come in. Candidates from each political party campaign through the country to win favor of their party members, whether it's blue or red. In a caucus, party members select the best candidate through a series of discussion and votes. In a primary, party members vote for best candidate that will represent them in a general election. Each party holds a national convention to select the final presidential nominee, and at each convention, the presidential candidate chooses a running mate. The presidential candidates campaign throughout the country to win the support of the general population, and I approve this message. Debating, which is not a requirement. Finally, step 3, the general election. People in every state across the country votes for one president and vice president. When people cast their vote, they are actually voting for a group of people known as electors. That's where the Electoral College comes in. So this is where everyone outside of the US is going to get really confused. Honestly, even a lot of Americans are confused about this. In the Electoral College system, each state gets a certain number of electors based on its representatives in Congress. So for instance, recently a lot of states either lost or gained 1 point in representative seats. This not only affects the House of Representatives, but also the Electoral College for the presidential nominee. So each elector casts one vote following the general election, and the candidate who gets more than half or 270 wins. And there you go. The newly elected president and vice president are inaugurated in January. I mean, it's kind of simple, but also, yeah, this is where things like get really wonky, the primaries and specifically the caucuses. And then it's very controversial because we do not base everything off of the popular vote. I'm obviously incredibly biased because I live in California, but I don't really love the Electoral College. I mean, as far as I see it, if you're not in a swing state, your vote literally does not matter. Period. Like, it just doesn't. It's not going to affect the outcome at all. I know a lot of people are going to be mad about that, but I don't really care. That's just how I feel. When did the meltdowns occur? Every step of the way. The former U.S. President Gerald Ford skipped a lot of this because he became president after Nixon had to resign. As always, big thanks to my patrons. Month 2 in Drew's basement. Drew's Argentinian Grandpa. I'm back, boys. I can't sleep. Pavlik, Kansas was mentioned. Amateur Archaeology. aPhatNarwhal. Carmel Fredrik Tibblin. KingBearHaze. KirinoIsBestGirl. Mgmluthegoat. Tyrol. Tambre. Mexican 760. If you like your name here, check that link to Patreon down below.